minutes.
Well, I'm glad we have you for the time that we have you then.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Why don't we go around and just do some introductions? Because this is the first time we've ever actually broadcast live on these calls before, even though we've been doing them for a while. So let's start with Colby.
I'm Colby. I guess I'll just start out with myself. Yeah. So I'm Colby. I live on the West Coast. I dove into spirit science after a few experiences with LSD, and I didn't immediately encounter spirit science, directly after LSD. It was actually introduced to me through an old friend of mine who was a hacker, and is actually very far away from spirituality. Like, he isn't really directly involved in it or participating, or what I mean. Yeah, he hasn't yet dove into all of that stuff yet, and he's mildly interested. But it was kind of ironic that he introduced me to spirit science, and the second I got involved in it, I absolutely loved it. It just was kind of like a centralized source of various spiritual topics. You know what I mean? Because that's what I always seemed was so right about it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that organized religion and dogmatic religion is just, there's just so many things wrong with it. Like, after a while, like, once something becomes too structured, it starts to just become corrupted in a sense. Like, and it's sad to not be able to achieve like a perfect balance. You know what I mean? Because the structure is necessary for anything to evolve and continue to evolve. But it's, for some reason, like, once the left brain gets involved, it just seems to just get its claws and everything and just want to take over, because the left and right brain is the opposite. But yeah, I just like the free flowing spirit of spirit science, and everything that it had to offer, and all the information that it had from so many different sources. And I enjoyed it. And I'm like a really left brain individual myself, so it was hard for me to just trust everything. And I know a lot of people have a problem with that, but just don't be afraid to go venture out into different sources and start learning different things, and even cherry pick if you want. You know what I mean? You don't have to believe in every spiritual thing that you encounter. I mean, a lot of people would go against cherry picking, but once again, that's like the dogmatic point of view of like it's literally, you have to believe in absolutely everything or absolutely nothing, and that's that. Like, either there's God in all of this, or there's no God and none of this exists. So it's just like, do what you like. But as for me, I like neuroscience. I used to be a hacker, and I like blending spirituality into all of those topics. And so, and I like to check this mesh shirt. I thought this would be appropriate occasion.
Nice. Beautiful.
On to the next.
Cool. Thank you, man.
No problem. Thank you.
Anthony, you want to take it away?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name is Anthony, and I've basically been watching spirit science, I think, since around the time when you first started doing it, Jordan. I think like the first ever video I saw had like 9 views on it, and I was just started looking at the series, and I was like, quite cool, something really interesting. Just kind of what I was looking for, like you said, Colby, as well, like almost bridging the gap between all that's been done in science and all that has been told in the history of religion. So I ended up working on a little design, like I do 3D animation, graphics. So I ended up working on a little project, which was a 3D version of the Patchman character. Saw that you guys started doing the guide posted light at that point, and there was like an IRC chat open. So I went on there, got in touch with some of the guys, sent an email over, showed that I started in this 3D character, and then I started getting involved with working in the Spirit Studios. So that's kind of like where I started, and I think it's been about a year, right, Jordan?
About that, yeah. We haven't actually like really published any of the things that you've made yet, but like they're in the pipeline. We have a bunch of the patch parables too that are like pretty much finished, or like 80% finished, and just really need like me to sink a few days into them to get them ready. But then like your 3D stuff was all done for that. And then not to mention, of course, the new Spirit Science Human History movie, which is going to have tons of your 3D stuff, which also for people watching, if you're curious why it's taking so long for the new Human History video, it's that we're going all out on this one. And we've got some crazy 3D animations that are in the works. Oh, there's Anthony's posting his,
Nice.
all of his shot list.
Yeah. Very rough.
Oh, that's awesome. That's the first time I've even seen that too. That's beautiful. So yeah, there's a lot of work that's going into it. But yeah, Anthony is he's quite a guy. And then Chris, your last, you've actually been kind of the one guy who's been recurring every time that we've done a SpiritSide chat so far. So welcome back.
Thank you. Well, yeah, my name is Chris, and I'm from Denmark in Scandinavia.
Oh, cool.
When I first found Spirit Science, it was shortly after I had a lucid dreaming experience, and I Googled about what lucid dreaming was, and it referred me to a Spirit Science video, and I watched through it, and then I got hooked into it and watched some more, and I was really interested and started looking into all the things that Spirit Science represents, and I got into it.
Great, thanks. Yeah. So normally, now Aaron's not with us this week because he's got tons on his plate and he just really wanted to keep his focus. But normally he actually guides us through an opening meditation at the beginning of our call. So I was thinking that since he's not here, maybe I could do that this time and just lead us all through like an opening meditation, and then it's just like a free flow. We can talk about whatever we want, you know. So I just got some new crystal singing bowls because I have found them to be so incredibly valuable in terms of tools for spiritual awakening and ascension and raising one's consciousness. It's kind of like, I mean, you play these while you're meditating, of any kind too. Like they don't have to be crystal. Like you can use an old hammered Tibetan metal singing bowl or whatever. These ones have a little bit higher resonance. I was comparing it to like a fine china made of, you know, crystal versus something made of like a cheap glass that you pick up at Walmart. Just in terms of like the resonance and the frequency that's carried in them. But I'm just gonna maybe play this one a little bit while we meditate, and I'll kind of guide all of us through a little, just some breathing, just to center everything. So without further ado, everybody just kind of just like get really relaxed and get really comfortable. And if you feel compelled to, close your eyes. Start by taking a really deep breath. And then breathe again, this time deeper than the last one. Nice and slow too. And notice as you continue this breathing cycle, notice your posture. Feel your body as you breathe in, holding yourself up from your heart so that you naturally create a straight spine where your crown is pulling up and your root is pulling down. So that you're sitting in a very natural position. Each breath full and deep. With every inhale, you can feel the energy coming into your body through your breath, through in the form of prana, moving up and down your spine, building yourself up with energy. And with every exhale, letting go, releasing, and relaxing all the different parts of your body. You can feel the tension in your face, in your jaw. And with every exhale, you let it go. Same with your arms, with your hands, with your chest and your belly. Breathing in light, relaxing and releasing. And now as you're breathing, become aware that you're breathing. And then become aware that you are aware of your breath. So it's like you're observing, you're self-observing, ultimately bringing you to the question, who is the observer? Remembering your posture, remembering your peace of mind. As you breathe into your heart, and you radiate this love out to everyone and everything around you. This love then expands around the whole world and touches everybody and connects with all of the other open hearts living on planet Earth. And now, take 3 more deep breaths. With every breath, slowly and gently bring yourself back into your body from this expanded state. You can start to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How was that?
Namaste.
Yay! I'm usually used to Aaron leading it, so that's the first time I've ever kind of guided a thing. That's cool. Yeah, thanks.
I have a question
Thank
for you
you.
guys.
Yeah, take it
When
away.
you guys get into meditation like that, especially like once you start really becoming, I noticed actually it clicked in. I think it was totally coincidental, or not coincidental. Probably was connected, but I didn't really realize it until after. It clicked in when you told me to, observe myself, like observe the thing, observing my breathing, or like the layer of consciousness observing my breathing. I started to notice, or what clicked in was like what was wrong with my body, like my bad posture and kind of my like weaker lungs, and it actually prevented me, or like kind of hindered me from like really spread, like when we got deeper into it, that like really spread the love, or feel the love throughout all of humanity, like once it's hit that further level instead of just a few people in here. Like I noticed like, ooh, I don't know if I'm strong enough to do that, because like I had a physical ailment. It was really interesting. I just think that mind, body, spirit complex, that trio, is so important because of that, because it was just almost distracting. I felt it in my lungs, and usually I feel it in my back because I have this scoliosis thing going on, but I've been working on my back like a lot lately, and it seemed to like not have any problems. I usually feel a lot of back pain on psychedelics, like unbelievable. If anybody can relate with me on that one, oh my gosh, when I lay down after it, it's beautiful. But anyways, my lungs were just like, because I've been smoking weed lately, and I hadn't smoked in about 3 months, and my lungs just, I just felt like the difference. It's interesting. And it's just, it can also, you know, be used as a tool for just like bodily awareness. It really showed me, you know.
Yeah. And the more you do it, the more you find you'll first of all pay attention to those problems you feel you have, and then drawing awareness is the first step to recovery, because then you identify, you know, this problem and work through it.
Yeah. I had an experience once at the legislative building in Winnipeg, which is actually, if you see it, it's like a giant, it's like all built to Fibonacci proportions, and there's a giant statue of Hermes on top. But there's sometimes they do like solstice meditations and stuff like that in this like large kind of central atrium right underneath the giant Hermes. And the last solstice, so December 21st, I went there and I had this meditation experience where like this woman was guiding everybody through a meditation, and some people were laying down and some were sitting up, and I had decided to sit up and try and hold a straight back. And it was almost as if like the entire part of that meditation, or a huge chunk rather, or at least was geared around me like aligning my spine and resolving like energetic like misalignments, because I was having the same experience of like my back was hurting, and I just kind of kept holding the space, and I went through these phases of like being aware of like the muscles tension like running up my spine. And like, as I would breathe into the tension and like let it go, like I would have like feelings of like constriction and pain, and then like this like release, and like, I don't think pleasure is really the right word, but it was definitely like a relief feeling of like, oh wow, like this, and then it would keep happening, like of like tension release through the whole thing. And one part in particular that was really cool was actually where I experienced kind of like observing my body from as if I was like a much taller, greater awareness all around myself. So I was kind of looking at myself as if, you know, like in a video game where it's like a third person view and I'm over here and I'm looking at it. And like I was, my breathing tube, or my you know, my column of energy up and down my spine was like a fluorescent light bulb that had been broken and shattered. And I actually screwed it and took it out and took a new one and screwed it in. And all of a sudden, like I felt it in my body as if like so much more energy was moving up and down my spine, and just so much more healing was taking place. It was really cool.
Yeah, you addressed it on like a spiritual plane. It was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna fix it all with the right brain. Like, watch.
Right.
That's awesome.
We also just had someone new join us. Makalia, is that how you say it? Michaela, hello. It's lovely to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Do you want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Sure. Sorry, I'm like at work in the middle. I just like saw the email and I was like, oh my gosh, let me join in real quick.
Oh, great. Great. Well, do you have a lot of time, or are you just in and out really quick?
I probably will be heading out in like a good 5-10 minutes, but I just kind of want to check it out and see what this was about.
Oh, totally. Well, listen, it's kind of a free flow. So we've been talking about, we just did a meditation, and then we were just talking about meditation. And if you have any questions, literally about anything, or anything that you wanted to talk about for a couple minutes, because we only got you for a minute, please just like jump in and throw it out there.
Well, did you guys do like the snow moon meditation the other day?
I did personally. We didn't do like a large group, but
right.
This last supermoon was. I mean, even right now, still like we're still in the energy.
Yeah, the energy is so heightened still. Yeah.
It's so crazy. There was a comet and an eclipse and a full moon.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. Yeah. How about you? I mean, I expect you must have, right?
Yeah, I actually, my girlfriend and I, we went out in our truck and we put blankets down in the back, and we had candles and crystals and all that, and just setting the intention,
nice.
Release all the stuff that no longer serves us, and to welcome in the new, and just it's really exciting. And it like the comet, the full moon, and what's it called? Sorry, I'm like spacing out
Eclipse.
right now. The eclipse, yes. It's crazy because you know, I'm sure you guys have all been feeling like that, like just some good energy coming and building up, and with that happening, I'm like, oh, that's what that was. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it was all that, all the three things coming together. That's why we've been feeling, you know, good energy coming, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds great. Of like just such a peaceful night.
Yeah.
Because that's really, I think, like you kind of hit the nail on the head too. Like that's really what's happening on like a really just like top down level, as above, so below, is all of the old things that no longer served or no longer working or had been causing friction in the past. Like we have this tremendous opportunity right now to just transition out of it, to move into something new and something so much more beautiful and like something that works for everybody. There was an article I was just sharing as well that my friend, who actually was one of the ones who found these bowls for me, who just shared a link that actually showed that there was a pentagram and a golden mean spiral in the astrological chart of what's going on right now.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it actually like is like a perfect both of those things. Like it's crazy.
It's like we're all like, it's like in sync. Like the I know like the polar shifts and stuff. Like, or no, what was it? The I can't think of the word. Where basically like it's like everything's realigning right now. It's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely am feeling that. I'm on like a crazy little spirit quest myself right now. I'm actually in Sedona, trying to, or just on a spiritual quest of seeking some spiritual guidance about some of the crazy things that are going on in my life, and hopefully aligning my own body, you know, my own body of consciousness to a higher reality, a higher potential, or a brighter future that is more in alignment with what I really want to be creating, you know?
Right.
That blows my mind, because I was actually about to bring up Sedona in like a few minutes, and I just encountered like some. Well, actually, I was watching videos on someone who like went there for a guided meditation, and there was a lot of natural DMT around, and kind of had like a natural DMT trip through a guided meditation. And I was actually considering sending my dad there, and you know, going there with my dad, because he needs just some like inner work, you know what I mean? He really wants to dive into himself, and he doesn't really feel dogmatic religion. My dad's like old cat, he's like 67, like he's just really interested in the whole Zen, like Buddhist meditation thing, and just doesn't really know where to begin. And I was like, let's just go do a guided meditation. And he actually found the exact one I was just mentioning to him through like word of mouth. And I was like, dang, like what are the odds? And then you're there too, so it's just like, this seems meant to be. I gotta check that out. Oh, are you guided meditation, or you just go there? Or how is it?
Actually, I came here specifically because there's one old friend here that I really needed to just reconnect with on like an energetic, mental, emotional level. But the even bigger reason was actually because I wanted to go and visit Trimvolo Melchizedek and ask him, and pretty much tell him everything of what has happened and is happening in my life right now, and just see what he says, really, actually, and like see what he recommends to do, because I know that he's been through some similar things in his life, and I wanted to kind of get an idea of how he dealt with it and what he did, because I'm kind of torn at the moment between, you know, really pursuing and going after something that I believe in, and something that also kind of really belongs to me, I don't have any access or creative, it's not in my hands anymore, and I'm like, I kind of, you know, but then also like there's this other side of like, just let go and trust of maybe I should really just step back and say like, let the forces of the cosmos go, and let me go and try and create something new, you know? And so I'm kind of playing with both of them. Sorry, what was that? I
said I can totally feel you, brother. I've been in that position. It's difficult. It is.
Yeah.
Because when you put so much work into something, and like it's just like you made it, you know, you made it what it is. Like you were responsible for its birth. I guess I mean, I don't know what project it is or what it is, but I mean, from my perspective, I guess the key would just be to see how much you really value it, like, and why you value it. and what it is, and then look at what else you have on the horizon. And then, yes, I guess, how much do you trust the people whose hands are in it? And more importantly, like, how strong is their passion for it? You know what I mean? Because that's really what matters, is how much do they love it? Because if they love it as much as you do, then maybe you can let go. Or maybe you can just be like, you know, a subtle advisor. You know what I mean? That's my, like, have the cake and eat it too, but maybe that's not the right way to go. You know, maybe that's too in the middle.
No, I hear you. That's actually really good advice. That actually puts me more on the side of just go and get it back, because based on all of the data that I have and the feelings that I've and what I've experienced, is that those who are currently in control of my creation, of this creation, has like a very tight constricting energy on it, which is really revolving around the need for money, and doesn't really have to do with the love of it as a thing. And like, the weird thing is like, I reached out to communicate, and like, I said I intended to come and visit, but I also just said, like, I really just want to talk and connect and really just have an open heart. I'm like, and I was like, I just want to come and give you guys such big hugs, and like, let's just figure out something that works for everybody. And what I was met with was, I got some phone calls from some quote unquote business managers / like assistant people, who basically just tried to like yell at me for 10, 15 minutes about how I was only ever a menial content creator for Spirit Science. I never had any authority, any control, anything to do with it. And that they were gonna slam me with lawsuits and legal stuff and litigations and like all of this crazy stuff. And like, that really kind of scared me. And like, I was laughing as it was happening, because I was like, what? Like, why is this even happening? Why are we, you don't even know me. You're yelling at me. You don't know anything about Spirit Science. Like, I actually did create it on my own several years before I met the people who are currently have are in control of it and whatnot. But it's just sort of just a weird scenario, you know. So, but again, I'm just breathing. Like, the entire time that I've been in the States, I've been fasting. I've been playing singing bowls like crazy. I've been meditating nonstop, and I've just really been processing and thinking and reflecting and conversing with everybody about it. So,
yeah.
But I thank you. Yeah, cool. It's Colby, right?
Yeah.
What you said really actually just kind of helped, and we're just gonna keep flowing, I think.
Sweet. I actually gotta get out of here, guys. Thank you so much for allowing me to join and stuff. I'll definitely come back for the next one up when I have more time to sit down and actually be with you guys. It was really nice meeting you. This is so awesome.
Likewise, Michaela, you have yourself the most incredible and magical day ever, and we'll see you on the new moon.
Have a good one. Bye.
Take care. Enjoy.
Bye.
See you. I was actually about to say the same, that I have to go now. So.
Yeah, it's really late where you are, aren't?
Yeah, it's very late.
Okay.
It's 10 p.m.
Okay. Well, Chris, we love you so much. Thank you for being here for the time that you were here.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Cool.
If you don't mind me asking, because yeah, that's some threatening stuff. I can't believe they just called you. Like, oh gosh,
This is weird.
That
It's really.
rile
I don't even know what to say. Yeah.
Yeah, that would rile the hacker in me. Do they have like control over the company, like percentage of ownership wise?
No, there was nothing like that ever signed. But here's the weird thing. Like I created Spirit Science, and when I connected with these people, I was just so trusting and so open that I said, let's plug in Spirit Science to whatever we need to. And so, a company was formed called Spirit Kingdom. And then we just plugged Spirit Science, like the website, the Facebook, Instagram, all those social media channels, into the company of Spirit Kingdom. But Spirit Kingdom, being an American company, and I'm a Canadian citizen, my name's not on it at all. So like, this person owns the company outright, Spirit Kingdom, and like, that's cool. I don't really want anything to do with I'm cool not having anything to do with the company. It's just everything that's plugged into it, which really is, I mean, if you look at it just on Creative Commons, I'm the Creative Commons rights holder by like looking at the data. But like, I don't have access to the website, the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr. It's just YouTube. I was able to hold on to YouTube by the grace of God. So
what matters, and you can happily unplug easily, and then you could attack them for minutes. Like if you want to disconnect, like I'm not even trying to get into like or start a war for you, but like just for your own comfortability, you are still in complete control. Don't let them scare you, because you have control of the YouTube, which is the centralized source for everything. Like, you know what I mean? That's what everybody is following. So if you want to just happily unplug from all of their, you know, websites and whatnot, then they really have nothing. And then at that point, they're impersonating you. So I mean, if you can easily, you know, be like, hey, I began this website you have. It's not your, you know, that's my intellectual property. Like I created it first, like on a creative, artistic level, like you are now copying it. So I mean, that I like, you know what I mean? It's the same with their Twitter and so on and so forth. I mean, it's just like, yes, I mean, you're good. You're good. You still have control of your creation. So I'm happy about that. Because if they had your YouTube too, and like they just like hijacked you, that would be some scary. Scary stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did start like the Facebook. I started within a couple of weeks of starting the YouTube, right? So like they were all made around the same time. And the YouTube really has 12 million likes because of all of the effort that I put into it. And it was really, I mean, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it was because of my effort, because of the relationships that I established, the share deals that I made, the articles that I wrote, and the articles of the people I wrote articles with, that really brought it and made it what it is now. And so like, really, I mean, when we really actually break down like the who did what and everything, like there was very little done on the growing the social media aspect that was not done by me, as opposed to the other people in the company. But that is what it is. And honestly, I think I feel really complete on talking about this for right now, because I would love to talk about some more exciting stuff. So check this out. This is crazy. The amount of people who have sent me articles and news in the last like week alone about Nibiru has been crazy. And it's funny because about a month and a half ago, Aaron and I were sitting down and we were talking about what this was like right at the beginning of the year. We're like, what is the new Spirit Science going to be? What should the new series be? Because there's a bunch of different topics that we wanted to talk about, including like the source field and thoughts, like much more in depth than we did in the first episode. And so we put that into motion, but even bigger than that, we decided we really wanted to talk about, we wanted to do the Nibiru story, and we wanted to do, like, because, you know, the human history movie covered like Atlantis to present day, but there's, in the Sumerian tablets, there's this like whole other section that that was not discussed or covered at all, which was like the origins of the solar system, and then like the entrance of Nibiru, and then like all of human history through like the creation of, well, like the evolution of the Nephilim up to the creation of the human race, and then how we got from there to Lemuria to Atlantis, and then the Atlantis movie starts. So we just started working on this Nibiru thing, and this is one thing that Anthony actually in this call is helping out with some of the 3D animations. But it was very interesting that, especially in this last week alone, there have been like a number of different people who've been sharing articles and news like there's something big going to happen with this whole Nibiru thing. And what I've found from my research, which is actually going to be episode 2 of the new human history movie, is actually looking at basically a case for Nibiru, because there's a lot of, obviously there's like tons of conspiracy stuff, there's tons of this, there's tons of that, but there's also some very, very incredible science that's actually starting to take place. And now they're basically, I forget his name, well, their names are Mike and Constantine, but I don't remember their last names. But these are 2 astronomers at Caltech. Mike, whose name again, the last name I forget, but he was the one who actually discovered Sedna, as well as there was a number of huge, like Sedna is another kind of like dwarf planet in our solar system. that we didn't know about. And he's found a number of like kind of anomaly dwarf planets or other such objects that have been in our solar system. And it was actually because of his discovery that we reclassified Pluto as a dwarf planet rather than one of the main planets too. Wow. And they have basically been on the tail of well, I'm calling it Nibiru, but they call it Planet 9 or Planet X or whatever, right? For they've been searching for it for quite a while now, and they have found some incredible anomalies in gravity that basically have guaranteed 100% that this planet is out there in our distant solar system, and several of the things that they found about it match the Nibiru story perfectly. Now, there's also a few other things that they're hypothesizing that don't necessarily match, and I'll share with you all of them pretty much, because what like in the Nibiru story, apparently Nibiru is supposed to be about a Neptune-sized planet, and it's supposed to have a long elliptical orbit that goes like way out into deep space, and then it comes in to our solar system, and then it goes way out again, right? And now in the Nibiru story, it's supposed to come all the way to the asteroid belt, and then go out again. But yeah, like Neptune-sized planet has a counter-rotating orbit from our solar system, and it's supposed to take like 3,600 years or something like that. So what these guys have found, now they haven't like pinpointed it yet, but because of the what they're observing with the gravitation of just like random objects floating around in our deep space, they've basically found that there is almost guaranteed a Neptune-sized planet with a long elliptical orbit that goes around our solar system over a huge number of years. Now, some of the differences is they suspect, they're hypothesizing that it actually takes something like 36,000 years instead of 3,600. And I'm wondering if there was like a mistranslation in Sitchin's work or something like that. Who knows? But they believe that it has a much longer orbit than what the Nibiru story or the Sumerian tablets, according to Sitchin, says. And also that it doesn't come nearly as close to our solar system. They say that it probably goes between 600 and 200 AU, astronomical units, and an astronomical unit is the distance between the Earth and the Sun. Whereas the asteroid belt is somewhere probably close to like 7 AU. So like 200, like the closest that they think it gets to our inner solar system is like 200 AU as opposed to 7, which is a really big difference. And that brings up a lot of questions. Like if the Nibiru story is even, valid, we're going to find out. But they reckon that they can actually see it in the viewfinder by the end of this year. Like they're saying almost guaranteed, wow. Like they'll be able to find it with all of the research and the observations that they're doing. And I believe that the moment that we do see it and we watch it for a period will give us so much more indication of if it does come this close, or if it stays way out in the distance or anything like that. Yeah. But it's very, very exciting. So it's actually it's just I'm starting to get all these people sending me Nibiru stuff and like all this prophecy stuff. But then also like we're making the video about it also at the same time, and then they're gonna find it really soon. Ideally, it's very exciting. I think that this is really gonna create some huge shifts in awareness, just with like the human race in general.
Yeah, I remember seeing stuff about exactly what you're talking about around a year ago, but not the advancements you're talking about, how they're going to see that year. So that's awesome. Can't wait to see that. That's going to be awesome. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. I mean, sorry.
Discrepancies, but nevertheless, there are some things that match up. And that's what I remember reading a while back as well. So yeah, it's going to be, and it's cool that it's being conducted or ran by the same guy who discovered that Pluto is not, an actual planet. So it gives him a lot of credibility, which is definitely in the scientific community, because it's annoying. It's annoying in the scientific community sometimes. But I'm starting to kind of realize how, like, have you guys ever seen DMT, the spirit molecule, that documentary?
Yeah.
It's interesting how spirit science is kind of doing a similar thing to the Flower of Life books, like, because the DMT spirit prophecy made it like a movie off of the books, and spirit science is kind of a similar concept, but even extended, you know. And so are the videos, because in the documentary, it was really cool because they talked to so many different people, and like, you know, they did things differently than the book, but it still shed light on the book and like maybe even advanced it, you know what I mean? So Spirit Science is kind of doing the same thing with the 2 Flower of Life books, and I just think that's awesome, because videos are the new age of information, whether people like it or not. Like, as time progresses, and like our dopaminergic systems get really used to having information at our fingertips, lazily being able to just watch it instead of, you know, putting effort into reading it. It seems that videos are the new way to learn. And I mean, I books always have a special place in my heart, but it's always been really hard for me to sit down and read a book. And I think that's just because I've become so accustomed to watching videos and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for the new advancements of Spirit Science this year, to see how they integrate and intertwine more of the new Flower of Life stuff that I haven't read yet. Because, gosh, I remember picking up the Flower of Life book when I was going through opiate withdrawal. Actually, it was one of the worst times of my life, and it was just really giving me light. I was in Hawaii, actually. I just had this epiphany there, like, I've never seen this much beauty on earth before, and I'm having to, my happiness relies on like these little drugs, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do it. So I stopped and I quit, and I haven't touched it since. It's been like a year and a half. But I remember reading the Flower of Life there, and you know, having kind of a spiritual awakening there. It was a cool thing. So I and my left brain mind, it's so hard for me to just like dive in and believe like far out things that Flower of Life book is saying, and some of it just like resonates with me so well on an instinctual level. So that's why I'm really excited about the new Planet X thing, and like when they really come out with statistics for it, and once they see it, like, really going to make me happy, because to change the entire world, and to have like a spiritual revolution, you really need to vibe on the left brain and the right brain, like, because I mean, that's really, in my opinion, what God is, you know, the perfect intertwinement of the two. You know, that the universe is the intertwinement of the two, the mechanics and the beauty, and so on and so forth. So you have to hit people on that vibratory level on both planes, and
Definitely.
if you can really get people to start believing. So I'm excited. This is going to be a very interesting year. I've been saying that for the past months. It's gonna be awesome.
Have you guys seen there's the new series that's out on Netflix called Cosmos, and it's presented by Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Oh yeah, of course.
That's really great to watch. And just when you were talking about the kind of blending of what is considered religious, what is considered scientific, do a good job of explaining how, you know, how science broke away from the mainstream, you know, from the church, basically, how it broke away from that, and how those people who originally took science away from being related to the gods, they were persecuted for it, and why they were persecuted for it. And it really goes into a lot of detail about sort of how that happened in human history, and why, you know, it's a really good thing to watch in relation to what you were saying, Colby.
I feel that, yeah. Do you know what? Do you like? I mean, it's okay if you don't. Do you know like where in the cosmos it was, like any episode, so I can like check it out? Because there's like, I think
it's like 4 or 5, I think.
Oh, well, yeah, yeah. You have any idea where it was?
In where it was in the episodes?
Yeah.
You probably just have to watch the whole episode.
Yeah, it's kind of like a recurring theme, because what they do is they talk about you know, principles of physics or astrophysics, and then they also tie it to like how this was discovered. Like, for example, how they register, you know, how close planets are, far away, you know, redshift, blue shift, and how they tell what elements are making up the planet they're looking at through the spectrum of light that is shining through the telescope.
I remember that. Yes, that was a good one.
So that sort of stuff is really cool. But they show you like how this person discovered it, and they kind of do like a reenactment. It's all just like in cartoon format, but they kind of do a reenactment based on the books and diaries of the people at the time, and give a you know, just get kind of a gist of what the mentality was like amongst people during that point in history, and what this person had to go through, just to make people wake up and see the, you know, that this is not some holy religious thing. This is something we can quantify and put into a, you know, into a system.
Yeah, I remember that when who was it that discovered that or hypothesized, which, you know, he's now right, that the planet goes around the sun, you know what I mean, and the sun doesn't go around the planet. When that happened, who was that? God,
Galileo?
I think so.
Or Copernicus, maybe? I mean, there was a lot of amazing astronomers. We should know, though.
I think it was Galileo. Yeah, and I remember him being casted out. Like, I remember, like, the cartoon story. That's what reminded me. Interesting how that rung my memory. Once again, like, spirit science. I'm excited because it leaves an imprint in your mind. You know what I mean? There's really something when it comes to, like, teaching people stuff. And you can do it on a visual and an auditorial level. Like because you learn a lot more that way, you know, like when in psychology they say, like, when you start adding layers, you start retaining a lot more information, and the best way to learn is to teach. Just that I throw that out
definitely
there. I definitely have experienced that just from, like, making the videos. Like, every video I make helps me learn so much more about the topic in the making of it. And I also feel like when I put out a video and it gets seen by, you know, let's say 100,000 people, like, I experience 100,000 people's consciousness reflecting and thinking about that video, and it all comes back to me, which, like, propels my feelings and thoughts more.
Which is so awesome, dude.
It's really crazy. So actually, I wanted to bring up really quick too on something that you mentioned, actually, when you introduced yourself, but also you just kind of brought it up again now, and that's what reminded me, which was that in the intro you said, like, that it seems like you either have to, like, believe everything in gods and this and that, or just nothing at all and be completely, like, you know, skeptic to everything. Yeah. And I remember watching one of those debunker Jordan video, Spirit Science debunked videos or whatever. It wasn't Martimer, it was some other one. But he was basically being like, now Jordan, this guy, the way that he described me, he's like, this guy just believes in literally every god known to man. Like, through every point in history, every god we've ever come up with, this guy believes in them. And I'm like, you don't even understand. Like here's the thing. Like, I mean, when I like listen to something, like I was just like, I open my heart and I take in the raw data and then just let it be whatever it is. Like, I never have, and this is just my personal experience, is I never have any attachment to any level of belief or ideology except what I can actively demonstrate through my own consciousness. So, like, you know, like, kind of the even, I mean, this is really basic, but what people often have called, like, the law of attraction, or like manifesting what's in your heart and what's in your mind. I have experienced and learned, at least on a basic level, how that works, you know, and like, because there's so much more on the terms of manifestation that, you know, we don't know, but like, through my experiences, like, it validates my understanding, and then I can, like, continue to grow from there. And even then, if I get new data that, like, challenges that and changes my understanding, then, like, again, there's no attachment to the understanding, because as I continue to add to my body of consciousness, then I'm only going to experience expansion and growth from that ultimately. Exactly. And so I wanted to kind of say that for you, you know, like, as you're, you know, nobody's telling you to, like, believe literally everything, but to have just kind of, like, just go with the flow and be yourself and, like, do you, you know, it's like really the end of the day.
Listen to everything, I hear everything, and only up to you what you reciprocate or what you actually let set.
What was that?
I missed the first part. Yeah.
I was saying, like, just retaining what you're saying, you know, like, hear everything, listen to everything, take it all in, and then see what sets and resonates with yourself. And a lot of people, they just go, okay, anything religion, the door is shut automatically, you know, and then you've just eliminated, like, this whole wealth of information from potentially being let in. And it doesn't have to be that you're going to believe in this God by listening to the stories of this Bible or whatever. But you might find something in there that does work for you, that does mean something to some other part of your life. And people don't want to listen to that or even take it in or look at it just because it's got religion stamped across it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Metaphorically.
And yeah, no, and what I was saying earlier, I was more like saying, if you're dogmatic, or like if you believe in dogmatic, dedicate yourself to one God, even though you know it's all the same God, but if you dedicate yourself to one religion, then you force yourself to either believe in it all, or believe none of it. Like my perspective is exactly how Jordan was explaining it when he said, like, well, I have like all this information from various sources, and then I get some new information, which actually just happened recently after I was studying DMT, and I just like, it clicked, things changed, and I was like, wow, you know, and I expanded. And it's just like this constant, I can't even say mission, because it's more like it's throughout my entire life. I guess you could say mission, or quest sounds more appropriate. Constant quest
Path.
of, yeah, exactly, of gathering information from all these different sources. And I don't know if you guys believe in this. It's just like kind of like, I mean, this is gonna get into a different conversation, but like if you're meant to come by information, then you come by it, you what you're supposed to, and then you move on to the next. You know what I mean? I personally believe in divine intervention. It's just that's something that we could question all day. You know what I mean? Does everything happen for a reason? Is it all free flowing? Like, are we our own destiny creator, or is it both? You know what I mean? Is there divine intervention?
It sounds like you talk a lot about like the whole topic of synchronicities, you know, like fate, or
Exactly.
you know, I think you said earlier about something, oh, it's a massive coincidence, but then you were like, oh no, not a coincidence, like it was meant to happen, sort of thing.
Exactly.
And I don't know if it was in this group, I posted that thing about deja vu, just something that was happening personally in my life that I felt like I needed to share. And that's if you start paying attention to the synchronicities that are going on in your life, you see how you are really just the creator of that. You've been doing it for a long time, but it's something that's so subconscious and deeply rooted that register every subconscious thought straight away. It takes practice and meditation to pull out and recognize and be aware, like stepping back, just like what you were doing in the meditation, Jordan, stepping outside of that awareness layer and looking back at it to see the big picture, to see the plan of what you're doing with yourself. And that's that with the synchronicities, you know. I think that's something you keep touching on, Colby.
Yeah, the synchronicities are definitely a huge part of my life. I really enjoy them. That was actually what woke me up, and like when I was on the synchronicities were just beyond, like you just could not comprehend like the magnitude and like the not like the wealth in numbers, you know what I mean, how many of them were going on. It was just like blowing my mind, and I was like, there's got to be something like another side to the coin. Like I am now realizing this. Like they like it's like you can't try to figure out that realm with the left brain, just like you can't mathematics realm. You know what I mean? It works both ways. A lot of people like seem to understand, like when I'm like, yo man, you can't like solve a math problem with mysticism. They're like, oh, that makes sense. And I'm like, yeah, you can't do it the other way around either. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think actually, like, this is probably like the great secret, and maybe this is what made why they gave the name Thrice Great to Hermes, was because I think when you actually like genuinely understand the three principles, or the three aspects that make up the universe, which according to Hermes was astrology, theurgy, and the alchemy. Like when alchemy, you think about it from like a sort of a chemistry perspective, but a little bit beyond it from the perspective of just combining things. The astrology of like the way that like all the celestial bodies as above and below, including like how you and all of the people in your life are like all interacting with each other, just as the planets are interacting with each other and the stars. And then also like the ritual practice, the love, and the flow and the creation that you put into every aspect of your life. You actually can, like through numerology, for example, like you can understand mysticism using numerology, but it's way more than just like traditional 1 + 1, because 1 + 1 can equal 12. If you're counting rabbits, a male rabbit and a female rabbit, that's 1 + 1, and you're gonna get 12 freaking rabbits from that, and that's just one time. So I mean, but again, we have to like really acknowledge that like creative, random, infinite kind of of the feminine, and then like the logical structure, and like the more that you fuse those together, I think the more that you can really, that's knowing Christ consciousness.
Exactly.
But then you can also like, you can tap into that, and you can use numerology, or you can use the power of number to, or any of those things to understand, mysticism. And likewise, you can use mysticism and say, I can see mystically exactly how we got that logically,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to also bring this up because this is my new, one of my new favorite books recently. I actually read it a long time ago, and then I just refound it again, but it's called The Tao of Pooh. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it. But it's so adorable, and you can tell by the cover. It's basically an entire book. It's not very big, but it's an entire book dedicated to how Winnie the Pooh is in its entirety a euphemism for Taoism, and Taoism, so brilliant too. If you've ever read the Tao Te Ching or anything by Zhuangzi, or the Tao of Pooh or anything like that, it's Taoism in essence is like all about just embodying the natural flow of the universe, like effortless motion, like doing without trying, doing without any effort or doing whatsoever. And it's really remarkable, honestly. Like it's really like like the law of attraction and like kind of personal manifestation. It's like that on like a scientific level, really, but also mystical, because it embodies like the way that you experience life. And it even compares the difference between like knowledge and wisdom, and like you can be a person like Owl in Winnie the Pooh, who just has such a, he's always collecting data, collecting information, has all this like knowledge and wisdom, or just knowledge and all these little points of information in his mind. But like when it comes to actually like living and creating and stuff like that, he doesn't really do much of that. Whereas Winnie the Pooh is like the uncarved block, where he's so simple that he just manifests and creates anything that he wants to, just without even trying. He's just like, life just happens so naturally when you're in a state of operating within the natural forces of the universe. There's just effortless, you never have to try, things just happen. It's so beautiful. So I wanted to recommend this book just because you were talking about, all of this stuff, but this just seemed like kind of relative in a way.
Yeah, definitely is. And yeah, I'm familiar with that, the way you describe the Tao, because I read a book that was recommended by Infinite Waters, Ralph.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, so do I. He's a great guy. Taoist Sexology. That book was very interesting. It's because they did a great job at intertwining spiritual and scientific topics, like practical, applicable techniques that you can apply to your current life immediately, while at the same time, having a faith-based system where you kind of have to have faith in these techniques that they will work, and an explanation of the spiritual mechanisms behind these techniques and what they will do for you in the future on a spiritual level. And just like, yeah, I really just dig stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because that, I think, is what is going to change the world, because this is a left brain society. I mean, especially in the United States with this capitalism mentality. You know what I mean? Like everybody is kind of like, and I mean, it's just how things are. Like it's just primarily a left brain based society. And I was watching this. Actually, I was talking to my friend who was watching a channel Gaia, and I can't say firsthand that like this was a true channeler, but my friend said he really vibed with the channeler, and it was like a YouTube video, and they channeled like the male aspect of Gaia, and I don't know what the name of that is. There's a certain name for it, and they were basically saying the male aspect was going to make itself more prevalent on this earth in the next 100 years or something like that. So I don't see us like switching over to a right brain mentality anytime soon. I mean, based off of like on the left brain perspective of everything going on in society right now, the capitalism, all of that, and just from what I've heard from that video. So I'm really excited for information, like spiritual information, to start tying in like left brain topics. You know what I mean? To like really really like hook people in. Even if you could just move an atheist to agnostic, like that's something right there. Even if you could do that, you know, that's just like change it anyway. You know, it's just awesome. Because I remember when I switched over to agnostic there for so long, and I was leaning over to atheism, and I was just like, whatever. And then clicked, and I was like, yep, there is something, man.
I mean, there's just really so much that we don't know, that really to claim any one practice as like the right one is really like just so, honestly, I would say like conceited. Like it's just, you know, like there's just so much. And because I've found so much truth in so many practices. I mean, even though, you know, like maybe right now I'm leaning into Taoism and like exploring it fully, but then like, I mean, I just came out of a thing of like learning about Buddhism, and Hermeticism has always been so prevalent, you know, for me. And then there's even in like, I find truth in Christian teachings and like old, like Jewish, like the Old Testament or whatever. Like there's so much wisdom everywhere. The trap is thinking that there's just one that you have to go with. So yeah, I'm with you completely.
Yeah, the compilation, man. Like, and when I was referring to like new information coming out, it's more like new information of information that combining all these different like okay, let me try to explain this better. Like let's say we're talking about what's a good topic that I don't know what. I'm not doing this right, but basically like a common topic that can be found in various philosophies, that you can get all the perspective of all these different philosophies and put it together in like a centralized video or a source, you know what I mean? And it's just like, boom, right there. So if I'm trying to research law of attraction, and then I, you know, go get like the Christian, the Buddhist, the like, you know, all the different perspectives and put it into one video, that's just like, I really enjoy that type of stuff. That's just like,
totally. It was actually, well, I'd asked Aaron, probably about 2 months ago, like him and I did a 10-day water fast. And when I was done with that, I was, or you're right, kind of in the middle of it, but as we were getting towards the end, like I was really asking him, like, can you give me like some logical reasons to be vegan? Because I really want to. And there's a part of me that like, and my right brain, like I really want to, you know, just be like completely get rid of animal products entirely in my diet, in my life. But I, you know, at the same time, like my logical half and everything kind of goes to like, well, you've got this sort of circle of life, and, you know, like fish eat other fish, animals eat other animals. Like, what's the problem with humans eating animals? And I was trying to wrap my head around it. What he told me, there was 2 things that he mentioned. One was Buddhist, and one was from the Old Testament. And the Buddhist one was a teaching of a principle along a list of 12 something principles of Buddhism or something. But it was do not take that which is not given to you. And it really got me thinking, because it was like, you know, there's this idea of, you know, like the cow didn't walk up and be like, hey, do you want some of this steak? Come and cut my head off and then eat me. You know, like the cow didn't do that. And the chicken doesn't walk up and say like, I know you want to eat one of these eggs. And then it like, here it goes. Like they like we grow them to slaughter them and eat them. But like that's, the cow never said, come and eat me, right? And then, so that was one of the points that really kind of helped my left brain. And then the other one was actually a story from the Old Testament. Pretty much I'll just summarize it too, and you could probably go and find it too if there's someone watching or any of you guys who want to like research it. But it's basically a story about this king who had a big army and they were all meat eaters. And then there's these 3 like holy men or like children of God or angels or whatever. They came into the kingdoms of the king. And the king was like, come and dine with us. And like they were like, no, we don't eat meat. And the king was outraged. So he put them to the test against like the best of the best soldiers in the king's army versus these guys. And these like vegans basically completely outperformed all of the meat eating soldiers, like more stamina, more energy, more strength, you know, everything like that. They were just so much more vibrant, and they were like, yeah, no, we just don't need to eat meat. And then of course the story takes a little bit more of a fantastical, mystical twist, and who can even say whether or not this is true, but it sounds really good from a mystical story. But apparently the king threw them into a fire, and they survived. Because they had such a high vibration that they like sort of transcended the heat of the flames and were basically just like ascended immortal beings or something like that. And apparently an angel also appeared, like a fourth being appeared in the fire too, when they were like looking into the furnace, and the king was like, ah. And then when they came out, the angel disappeared, and they were like, all right, well, we're gonna peace out. And then they left, and the king was just kind of flabbergasted. But at Wings, I was like, I think I could probably like handle being vegan. And what I noticed then from eating vegan is, and I've also done a few stages of just being raw, which I also love, and I'm going to do that again when I finish this fast. But what I've definitely noticed is like when I don't eat meat, like my psychic abilities increase. Like I feel so much more energy in my body. I'm more like I'm able to go to sleep easier and wake up earlier and get more work done, and like just be like generally I feel so much lighter. And so I don't remember why originally I was bringing that up. We were talking about multiple teachings or anything like that, but like that's definitely one that's just on pure practices. Like that's kind of where I'm going, and feels really good.
You brought it up because you wanted like a logical perspective on it. You know what I mean? The
oh yeah, balancing left and right. Yeah.
And dude, I'm on the same boat with you with veganism right now, because I'm 5'8" and I'm 130 pounds. Very light for my weight. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not too light, but it's like I would like to be 150 or so. So I'm intensely dedicated to the gym and bodybuilding and whatnot. And as you think, as people think, they're like, oh gosh, that guy is shredded. He must be so healthy. Most of the people who are like ripped and huge really are not healthy at all, because they're constantly eating food. Constantly. And like all the archaic acid from meat and just like all the stuff they're eating, usually it's not good, because I mean I read every single label. Because when I was a kid, all I would eat was just like genetically modified, artificially flavored bullshit, basically. Like it was just bad. Like it was really bad. So I moved away from that, and now I'm really focused on eating organic and all that stuff, away from high fructose corn syrup, artificial flavors.
Oh yeah,
got it. But at the same time, though, I experience hot flashes, usually after I eat meat and stuff like that. It's really bad. Like it's like fiery, pokey burning throughout my entire body. And when I ate vegan for like a day, it was amazing. Like I felt great, like the energy. I didn't really have hot flashes. It was great. But I was like, I can't gain weight. How am I supposed to get enough protein? Like, am I going to eat like 1,000 nuts a day? Like, so and the whole debate with like is it right to animals and whatnot, and deep down I know that it's like it's not, you know what I mean? It's life just as much as we are. It's like saying, oh, just because we are more intelligent and that means they are inferior and we have the right, or basically the right to kill them and eat them, you know what I mean? Is that really how things should work? I mean, I think the higher consciousness that we have to move away from our primitive mind, our primitive aspects, should allow us to be like, we shouldn't eat these because we have the common sense. So like we have the information and ability to understand that we are all the same. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's just like, I know deep down that it's really just isn't right. But I actually did a project on veganism. You might be interested in like the logical aspects of how it helps you on a neuroscience or on a neurochemical level. Food, the protein you get from it has various amino acids, and those amino acids break down into neurotransmitters. And usually, like, have you ever heard of people saying, oh, if you eat turkey, you get more serotonin, and that's what makes you sleepy from it? So the reason people say that is because
melatonin, do you mean, or is it serotonin? Because serotonin's the happy one, melatonin's the sleepy one.
Exactly, and they're very closely related. But the reason they say that is because there's an amino acid called tryptophan in turkey, and there are tons of amino acids in turkey. So the fact that it's pretty much a myth, because the amount of tryptophan in turkey is the same amount as the other amino acids. So they're all competing with each other, and more tryptophan doesn't get in, But if you're eating plants, the amount of tryptophan is actually exponentially higher compared to the other amino acids. And tryptophan races in the blood-brain barrier and actually breaks down into 5-HTP, which then breaks down into serotonin. And now you have more serotonin naturally occurring within your brain. And you also don't get archaic acid, which is an inflammatory chemical that it causes inflammation in the brain and the body. Specifically the brain. When you eat meat, you get that archaic acid. So 2 reasons why not to be vegan. And if you want any sources, like, you know, like if you want to really satisfy your logic, I'll send them over to you. I made a whole PowerPoint on it, so I'll send you the PowerPoint.
Yeah, probably actually. That's really interesting. I don't know if I think I posted it in the group at some point, but I'm doing a series of episodes about raw vegan diets at the moment. Like, me and my girlfriend did a raw vegan diet week and just documented the whole week on camera. I've been uploading episodes, and I do like some interviews with a vegan activist, you know, like activist in England at the end of every episode. But I'd really like to get some more, like I said, like neuroscience and some more of that nutrition behind it. If you're up for doing that, and even you as well, Jordan, because you've been doing a lot of the raw vegan fast. You know, you've been fasting and doing raw veganism and veganism years it is now. Yes, I thought I'd ask there actually if
yeah, definitely.
both of you guys want to get involved.
I'd be down with it. Yeah. Happy to help.
Well, we'll talk about that a bit later then. But, yeah, that'd be cool. Thank you. That'd be awesome.
I feel like maybe this is a good time. Now, we are kind of probably coming close to the end of the call here, but we'll just go with the flow till it ends naturally. But one of the things I feel kind of compelled to bring up actually is because, first of all, you know, there's 7 billion people on this planet, and the amount of people who are going to be willing and able and wanting to actually to do raw vegan or anything like that is considerably smaller compared to the amount of meat eaters that we have. And I feel like it's, you know, like kind of compelled to say first, like if someone wants to eat meat, like no judgment, and please do what feels right. You know, like there's evidence to show that certain blood types need and require animal meat to like in their diet to survive, and there's other scientific evidence as well, just for the benefits of it. So if someone feels perfectly compelled to do it, you know, first of all, just like no judgment. Nobody's saying like you're a bad person if you eat meat. But the second thing I think is that kind of related to that too is, and this applies to everything you eat, not only meat but plants as well, which is really like, showing and giving gratitude to the food before you eat it, because there's actually this is like, and we're actually doing a spirit science on this as well. Probably will be the next episode after the first part of the human history, just all about the field, like the source field. But it shows that like even plants, as well as animal meat, actually has strong reactions when you consume it. Like plants actually give off a screaming sort of energy when you eat them, as demonstrated by Cleve Baxter's polygraph test.
Oh yeah.
And it's very, very interesting. And the same thing with meat too. And meat's especially just, it can be really, really, really hard just from the perspective that most of the chickens, the cows, the turkeys, the things that you eat on a meat level, even the fish, have been like farmed and ultimately put through torture. All the dairy that's available and everything like that, like the cow has to be taken away from its child, and then it's like forcibly extracting like this painful way all of its milk. It's the cow is not happy releasing that stuff, and the chickens are horribly tortured when they're being raised. And so like if you do eat chicken or meat or anything, really to sit with your food before you eat it and like say thank you and really like connect to the spirit of the plant or animal, to tell it where it's been, why it's being farmed with pesticides, or why it's being held in a cage for so long and in this like terrible way. And kind of tell it, look, you're going to move into a new body of consciousness where you're going to be free of that level of suffering. And you really have to communicate that first, because otherwise, if you're just going to eat the meat without even thinking about it, then you're just taking in the raw, tortured animal into yourself, and then you're going to feel a little bit tortured inside. And that's why, like, it tastes really good to your mouth, but it does not feel so good in your belly afterwards, and it adds, a lot of heavy weight, heavy density to your system.
I feel that, definitely.
Yeah. Because look, I have eaten meat plenty in my life, considerably less these last, especially this last year. But I definitely know, like, just from my own experiments too, of, like, just feeling, you know, the way that it feels, and also the difference of, like, if I sit with, like, I could right now, I'm not going to, but I could right now go and get some chicken, and I could sit with it for, I'd probably have to sit with it for like 10 minutes, but then I could eat it, and I would probably feel mostly okay, but I would probably feel a little bit heavier just because I'm not used to it. But
Yeah.
That's like a recurring experience that I've had. So I don't know. I just felt like bringing that up.
Yeah. What was I gonna say?
Yeah, I think that's one side, you know, and there's like the whole thing of, like you said, about sitting and thinking about the food you're eating, and, you know, like I said, paying attention to the torture and where the animals come from. I feel like even just by doing that, to then not only start feeling better about focusing on like that meditative process that's going on there, but also will start to draw people into veganism, into vegetarianism, because the more you dwell and think about what this animal's been through to get to your plate, the more you will associate with that, and the more you will feel the what's the word? You empathize. You know, you empathize with them.
Yeah. The more you realize what is in front of you as an animal at one point, especially because, I mean, for a long time when I was a kid, I was just like, yeah, this is food. Like, I knew it was an animal, but if you really think about it, like, you know, and I say that every single time, and I think that, like, this was a living being every time, I think that'd get to me eventually, but no.
I mean, it's the same with plants too, but I guess there's that aspect of, like, you are what you eat. So if you think about it from the perspective that, like, it seems like, you know, an animal exists at a certain level of consciousness. So if you're taking that level of consciousness into yourself over and over, then it's going to bring you into alignment with that level of consciousness where that animal or plant is. And then I guess just comparing the difference of, like, a plant versus an animal, like, a plant is a lot more simple in its consciousness and in, like, what it is. And your body also digests a plant so much quicker than it takes to digest a big, you know, like a steak or something like that.
There's this whole thing of, you know, like, say a plant grows a fruit, the fruit drops away from the plant still lives on, you eat the fruit. You can't pull a leg off a cow and expect the cow to carry on and produce the leg. You know, there's that side of it as well.
It's very true.
Really, though, about the screaming of the plant thing. That's very interesting. I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah. You know, that's the, oh, sorry.
No worries, man. Go.
I was gonna say that's the only thing so far that I have found that they made a mistake on Adam Ruins Everything, or at least I believe it's a mistake because I resonate with the research. But in Adam Ruins Everything, it was the episode about forensic sciences. I don't know if you've ever seen the show, but it's brilliant. Like, he just breaks down, you know, like, mistakes or misconceptions about reality and human civilization. It's so good. But in the forensic science episode, he is breaking down kind of the discrepancies with the polygraph, and I have no qualms with that because it's totally true. Like, you can trick the polygraph into you know, thinking that you're telling the truth simply by remaining really calm and, like, checking your breathing, and, like, totally not, like, that's exactly right. But this guy Cleve Baxter was kind of the first guy who really did this and pioneered this. But he connected a plant to a polygraph. And he found that, like, the polygraph wouldn't go off when he would, like, dip the leaf into hot water. He would, like, tap it with a pencil. But the polygraph did show, like waves. So it wasn't just a flat line, like, as if it was an inanimate object, like a table or something. It was breathing and moving, you know, just very calmly, as if it was like a living, breathing organism, which it is. And then he had the thought, what if I burned it? And instantly the polygraph went into the fear spectrum because the plant was experiencing his intention to burn it. Now, in Adam Ruins Everything,
wow.
He was like, they did a funny little skit where he was like, yeah, you know, they like, this one guy with the polygraph thought that plants could hear and think emotions, rather than, wow, this polygraph just goes off randomly for no reason. But, like, Cleve Baxter did enough experiments, not only with plants, but with live human cells and with other, with like eggs, unfertilized chicken eggs too, and always had the exact same results. And he even found, he took one of the most interesting experiments. He took a swab of saliva or something from, like, a DNA from this guy, and it was some famous guy actually too. It might have been like a sports player or something. But anyway, they took these cells and they watched them. They connected them to the polygraph through like some electrodes in the liquid or whatever. And they were watching the thing as then the guy whose cells came from, he actually got on a plane and he flew to like Phoenix, Arizona from LA. And then like the cells stayed alive for about 10 hours. So they had 10 hours of experiments of watching this. But every time the guy got anxious, the cells in LA would actually still react as if they were still connected to him and his anxiety. So when the guy got to the airport and almost missed his plane, the cells in the laboratory in LA went, whoa, no, like I'm late, you know? And then like when he landed on his plane and his son was coming to pick him up and his son was late to pick him up, again, the cells like started to react. So it's like the distance doesn't even matter. And they actually, they completely like covered the polygraph on the whole experiment inside of a Faraday cage, and later an even more electromagnetic resistant cage from any like external energies or whatever that could be coming in, and it still had the same results. And so it kind of demonstrated like there's like an unseen invisible force that like all, you know, that everything is connected by, and we're able to see it. We just can't like describe really how it's happening or what it is.
You ever Einstein's spooky action at a distance?
I don't know anything about that.
No.
He discovered this. It's basically what's known in modern times as quantum entanglement.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But he discovered that you could take a set of atoms that had been twinned through a process like involving magnetism and electricity, and then you could separate those two particles, and no matter how big the distance, they would always be subject to the same reaction that one of them was getting, you know, like so if one got certain stimulus, the other one would show the effect of that stimulus even from, you know, the other side of the planet. And then that's why he called it spooky action at a distance. And from that experiment, I think he then started hypothesizing all these things, like even like the bridge, like the Rosen bridge through space and things like that, and all these wild quantum theories came from that experiment that he did.
Amazing.
Got to be some way two things are connected. Like not those two subjects. I mean, the two subjects are probably connected, but like the two atoms.
I think that gravity is, I mean, this might even be gravity that we're describing, like this unseen force, and like we just don't understand gravity enough to be able to like identify it. But I remember the first time I actually sat down with Drunvalo Melchizedek, he was telling me about someone that he knew, and there's so much like this has never really made it to the public or the mainstream, but he was telling me that like he knows this guy who was doing like these top secret experiments that have never really been released, but he basically like they tapped into the gravitational field in a way that had never been done before. And he was saying, hi, you want to wave to everybody? That's Nava. So I'm just telling a story right now, Susie. Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so he basically, he was telling me that the gravitational field was basically like this supreme way of transferring data. And that if you had 2 points that were connected and then like using gravity as the transmitter, it would be instantaneous. And whether it's electricity or, you know, or information, whether it's, you know, like imagine like bandwidth, like streaming data, like through a computer, like, you know, bandwidth is, oh, like I can transfer, you know, this movie or this document from here to there around the world. And it's going to take this long because this guy goes through all these cables. But if you're like, if you have a gravitational connection, it's like, bing, they're both on both sides at the same time, which is just like what you were saying with the two particles that share a link, as well as actually the two, like the cells in the guy's mouth, that even though they were disconnected from him, they were still fundamentally connected. So the moment instantaneous that this guy experienced it, like the cells reacted identically at the exact same moment. So maybe gravity is like actually the final secret and the final key to like really understanding and breaking through this whole energy and everything that's going on Earth. A lot of our limitations, you know.
Have you heard of Boyd Bushman as well?
I haven't, but I would love to hear about him.
Sure. He's basically a former engineer at Lockheed Martin or Skunk Works. You know, like what that is, right? Or that's the military defense program for, you know, they came up with the stealth bomber, you know, like that's one of the most famous things. They're like the top research projects to do with the military in USA. So yeah, Lockheed Martin, and so he used to work for them, and he's done a lot of stuff about gravity, and he's been interviewed, but he's very like particular with the things he lets on. He's almost like not telling you what they know, but also giving you clues and hints. And he uses this thing called a celt, which is just a piece of plastic, but the way it's arranged, you can spin it in one direction, it'll spin fine, but if you spin it in the other direction, it will turn back the exact amount of spins that you pushed it. So he's saying like, that's the clue there, like why does it do that? And he's got an experiment registered, he's got a certificate for it, where he ended up getting 2 very powerful neodymium magnets, drilled a bolt, put a hole through it, and put a bolt tying the opposing ends down together. So he had these massively opposing forces tied together in such a small space, and he put them confined inside like a shell, like a rock type looking thing. And he had one of equal weight, which had no magnetism inside it. He then also got 9 volunteers, people who were impartial and had no reason to know what was going on with the experiment. He got them all to drop. So he dropped those 2 rocks from the top of the tallest building in the Lockheed Martin plot, and he asked them to tell him what one do you think came down first. Obviously, you know, we know with Newton's law of physics that no matter what you drop, it's going to come down at the same time, unless it's like a feather and you're talking about air resistance anyway. So each people said that the one that had the magnets in came down later than the one that had nothing in. And then he ended up looking into that and seeing that he was creating a field about 3 foot wide, which was created because of the magnets being tied together. So he was, to a certain degree, able to cancel out gravity by tying those very powerful neodymium magnets together and create an opposing magnetic force within that.
That's very interesting.
Boyd Bushman's got some really interesting stuff.
Boyd Bushman. I'm gonna write that down because that might be really good for the field videos.
Yeah.
You might have seen this quote before as well. A guy called Ben Rich. He was the former head of Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and he said on his retirement speech, I think it was, he announced. He said, "We already have the means to travel amongst the stars." But those projects are locked up in black operations that it will take a miracle to have out to the public. But he said something like, "We already know how to take ET home," as like a little joke, you know, like we know how to do all these things.
I believe that. Space programs I've seen, and we can't ever verify this at this point in time because it is, as you said, like so locked up. But there's like so much. Like, I mean, there's like leaked information.
The head of the department comes out and says that his retirement speech is
exactly. Apparently, there's a lot of stuff in Antarctica.
To say the least.
Yes. Either way, it's an exciting time to be alive.
Indeed, it is.
Oh man.
Indeed, it is. I was looking at Boyd Bushman for a second, but I'm going to have to conclude this session. I had to go with my dad. I'm going to leave in like 30 minutes. It's been like an hour and a half, so it's probably.
I was just about to say the closing prayer as well, actually. So that's perfect timing. So thank you guys for joining me today and for doing this hangout. This has been absolutely a blast. Very insightful, revealing, loving. You guys are awesome.
It's really nice.
You guys as well, absolutely. Great. Great.
Thanks, Jordan.
Take care, you guys. Peace out. Peace, love, and happiness.
I'll send me you guys your emails, and I'll send you over that PowerPoint about veganism and serotonin.
You got it.
Slack group.
Great.
See you guys.
Nice, Colby.
Farewell.
Great meeting you.